Oh, crap,
Well,
we got Peter. Oh man.
okay, good. Well, maybe we should do some introductions, Andy. What do you think?
Oh goodness. Yeah. Yeah. Well, being that you are El Presidente, I will introduce you. How about that?
Ooh, okay.
So I'll start with. Got to practice this kind of stuff, right?
It's true.
Right. Yeah. Can't be quite as slick as you. Can't do the dance that you can do yet, but I'm practicing. Hi, everyone. Andy Berger. I'm the Vice President of Experimental Sounding Rocketry Association. I am the launch director for the Spaceport America Cup, which just means if it goes up in the air, I got to focus on that quite a bit. I manage the range safety teams, the launch operations teams. I try to keep Da Vinci in the mission control and recovery and data systems, all that running pretty smoothly during the event. And I have I report directly to the big kahuna himself, Cliff. Cliff is our beloved president, and he's the one that can get up in front of the executives and talk without stuttering all over the place. And he is leading us in a great direction. We continue to grow, and we're looking forward to the 2022 event. And we're doing our best to make this event as good as possible. It sounds like you folks are enjoying. You're definitely out there in droves, so we appreciate your support there. So let me hand it off to Cliff. Cliff.
Thank you, Andy. Well, as most of you probably have seen, I'm Cliff Olmsted, so I'm the president of the Experimental Sounding Rocket Association, and we just call it ESRA lovingly for short. And I've been president for, God, 3 years? Mm-hmm. I think about 3 years. And
but no launches.
Yeah, but no launches. So this is actually the first event I've presided over as the president of the organization, and we've got a whole great team. And in fact, I was just sitting on the Jeff McGivern AIAA talk, and if you haven't seen that, it's well worth watching. It's the JPL Mars mission details. It's great. One of the quotes he had from that is, "We are nothing without our team." Man, I cannot overstate that. And Andy's one of my key right-hand people for the organization. He's the vice president of ESRA, and we've got a whole team of people. And hopefully Bill Hansen can join us as well on stage. He's our director of competition rules and has put this all together. He says he's coming. I see it. You just got to click the buttons, and it's a little squirrely, so hopefully he'll join us. We've been working really hard, not only for this event, but also, since the pandemic started, right? So we had the competition in 2019, and then the pandemic started early 2020, and things were moving so fast, we had to just make the call to cancel it outright last year, as you know. And then this year we said, we've got to keep the momentum somehow. So how can we make this a meaningful virtual event and have it be a competition, and also look forward to 2022 and make sure we're still laying the infrastructure and working with our partners at Spaceport America, which has been huge. I mean, obviously we couldn't hold it to the event. Certainly we couldn't hold it where we're at, but the location is just ideal, and Spaceport America is a huge part of that. So we thank them as well.
I think that is
F in chat for SAC 2020. I see it. Yep.
So that's a critical piece just to keep the event active. It may be virtual, but again, the teams are turning in the reports. They're being evaluated. They're being reviewed almost like they're launching. And the one good thing, and I sort of giggle about it, is the folks in Las Cruces are telling us that on Sunday it's going to hit 111, which that would have been a record for us, I think.
That would be really, really hot. 50C, that's...
Yeah. So it was, 2017, I think, that it got up to 109 one day. And that was miserable. 18 and 19, we were sort of, it wasn't too bad. Only a couple of days up around 100. But that 2017 event really took a lot out of us. So, wow.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, crazy.
I just wanted to toss out to everybody. There's a chat window on the right for just general commentary and that kind of stuff. If you have specific questions, if you're upset of some new rule that ESRA did, if you have questions about, how to plan or prepare for the event next year, whatever the case might be. This is an open sort of general forum, and you've got the president and vice president of ESRA here. So if we can't answer, we'll can answer in the Q&A tab of that the right side of your window. That way we can keep track of them and we can dismiss them when we're done, that kind of stuff. If you put that into the chat window, we may miss it. We don't intend to. So we do have one question already, so let's go ahead and focus on that one. Any thoughts on rockets where the stability margin changes a lot due to depleting fuel and shock waves? Oh, wow. Big Cliff, we should have had some of the range safety guys on here, or maybe the hybrid liquid folks.
Oh, that's true.
So there is a session, I think, coming up tomorrow, maybe, for the hybrids and liquid. And we have the two leads. We have a new hybrid lead who is joining us, thank goodness. Super excited about that. Drew Nickel is joining. I got to focus here.
Sorry.
so to answer the question again, is that is the forum that's perfect for that type of question. Those two experts will absolutely be able to answer those questions as far as how that stability margin is going to be changing during your flight. As far as myself, Bill, I don't know how many liquids and hybrids have you flown. I have not done many.
Not many, no.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I have thoughts along those lines too, which is you better be thinking about it.
Right.
So we're going to be looking at the expectation is that you understand your rocket, you understand what does change in terms of CG, in terms of your center of pressure, what are the effects of stability as your fuel levels change, and of course your aerodynamics and shock waves and all that. So while we have experts on the team and there's some great forums, as Andy said, that are coming up, the onus is on you to understand that. And so I don't know if that answers the question entirely, but that's certainly my thoughts. And hi, Bill. Hi, Steve. Thanks for joining.
I was just starting another session with some guy, so sorry for being late.
No, that's quite all right.
All good, Steve. I'll do a quick introduction for Steve and for Bill. So right now, you sort of have the top echelon of the food chain as far as ESRA goes. Steve Taylor. Steve Taylor is the director of launch operations. He is the guy that's on the ground at LCO. He's the one that's ensuring teams are making it out to the pads properly, that the range safety operation components are completed, signs are checked off, procedures are followed, et cetera, et cetera. Anything that goes out of the ordinary from an operation standpoint, if things start to fall apart, Steve's the guy that's going to be in the golf cart racing around and get all that stuff involved. And so Steve, before joining us, actually had a full head of hair. And so, unfortunately, you see what this organization does for you. Bill's just joined us, and you already see what's happening. So, you also had a full, and so, yeah, this is all fake. I'm sorry. So, anyways, Bill Hansen has joined us as well. And Bill is our director of competition rules and judging. And so that role is super vital in basically being able to evaluate teams, quality. Would that be that? Quality, structure, organization, abilities to communicate. Basically really focus in on the quantitative scoring. And, he's the one that says, hey, you won, or hey, you didn't win. So I don't know if Bill, that you guys want to join in and add any additional detail. That's my wing at it.
It's good open discussion.
Right. Right, we get some more questions in there.
I want to get to the fun question. Can we get rid of the plants that drop the crucifixion thorns? No, you cannot bring flamethrowers to Spaceport America Cup. I'm sorry. But
wait a minute.
Bring heavy-duty shoes.
So, Steve, look who posted that question. Peter. Peter. Thanks, Peter. Adding value add wherever you go.
Mm-hmm.
I can toss in there. we have a special area we're going to do for two-stage and demonstration project that they told us is going to be sort of out in the boondocks. And you literally cannot get out there without at least stomping on 5 or 6 of those.
Wow.
So the record, we may make some adjustments to some plant locations. We're just leaving it at that. Because you really couldn't get out there. So, anyways, I'm going to dismiss and block Peter.
There you go. Just a reminder for those who may have just joined, ask your questions on the Q&A tab. We're just kind of working through those as they come in. It looks like they're coming in pretty good, so thanks for that.
Awesome. Let's move to the next one. Will the Australian teams have to pay for postage when they clean sweep the awards? Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my God.
All right, Isaac.
Smack talk in chat. I don't know what the letter code for that is.
Oh, that is awesome.
I'm just glad they volunteered to. I'm just glad they volunteered to pay for all the shipping.
Well, you know that Sydney, very first year for an Australian team in 2019, showed up, did an amazing job. I mean, the judges could not say better things about them, and came within a whisker's hair of winning the whole event. And so I had been giving them holy heck for months proceeding up to this because they're Australian. And so anyway, they showed up and just the nicest guys. I mean, the funny stories, some of the great things that they did. And this is the kind of stuff, if you're curious, this is the kind of stuff that will gain you a lot of respect within the judges. So they showed up, highly organized, launched on the first day, actually the morning of the first day. So they got their bonus points for the early launch. Great. Yeah. Then the rest of the time, they could just sit back. They didn't even have to show up Thursday and Friday. I mean, they really didn't have to go out and eat. They kept coming up to us and asking us, what can we do to help? I was like, oh, it's so hot out here. And they said, this is home. I have no idea what you're talking about. This ain't hot. But they did. They helped, I don't remember, Penn State or University of Pennsylvania. A team that had 2 students in it. They lost their rocket, couldn't find it, and they had to leave early. They had an emergency. They had to leave. Sydney team gets out there, puts the recovery pack on, finds that rocket, and brings it back to me. So, I mean, that was just something that was really, really cool. And so the last thing I did with the Australians was I said, great. First we had the Canadians come in. Now we got the Australians in. You know what's going to happen next? We're going to have Kiwi. And we did. We had 1 New Zealand team sign up. So crazy stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next question. What are your thoughts on next year's Spaceport America Cup? Is there a chance it will take place live, or are you looking for another virtual event?
Live.
Live.
We're planning on live.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we could survive another virtual event.
I mean, it's a good question. We've been trying to read the tea leaves for a year and a half, right? And everybody thought at the beginning of all this in 2020 that, well, 2020 is out, but late 2020 should be getting better, right? Well, here we are. I don't anticipate that I expect that we will have a live event in 2022, given the state of vaccine. So go get your vaccines. Be safe. We'll certainly continue to monitor that. But so far, yep, on site, plan for travel, and we're going to have a great competition next year.
Yeah, there may be some exceptions where a few countries are still not up to speed and they're not allowed to travel into that situation. That's going to be horrible. But there's a situation where a majority of the universities and the states will be open to travel, and we're gonna make that decision fairly early on. It's looking fairly positive at this point, so I'm excited about it. I know everyone else is super excited about it as well. So I would go ahead and plan on it, but continue to monitor your version of the CDC and travel restrictions, etc. So again, best of luck, and everyone stay safe. And like Cliff said, get your vaccinations. I had COVID and I got the vaccination. So hopefully I'm good.
Yep.
Hey.
Yeah, go for it. I was going to say, there's two good questions. Andy, will the event be partially digital next year?
Ooh.
They've been working on some things behind the scenes.
A couple of things behind the scenes. So we've heard you guys loud and clear, and it's sort of been, something that's been smacking us in the back of the head for the first couple of years. We have literally hundreds of teams and thousands of students showing up, and the only live streaming that takes place usually is, one of the team members, the student members, running around with their cell phone trying to get connectivity so that they can take some live video, and that's really about it. But ESRA and Spaceport America staff, and we're only focused on, gosh, can we just pull the event off? But we're leaving thousands upon thousands of other people out on the, out away, not able to see a video or any type of details of the event for sometimes weeks or months after the event. The teams start posting their videos, and everyone looked at it saying, "Wow, that must have been a fun event." Actually, we started this almost 2 years ago. The ESRA Board of Directors approved a project to attempt to live stream if at that point it was the 2020 event, then the 2021 event. For 2022, there will be hopefully a live stream semi-professional version. We're working on it. We've invested the dollars necessary to get a system up and running. I've been testing that like crazy, and it's working fairly well. Next week, I take this is an update for the ESRA guys. I pack up all that gear into the back of my vehicle, the robotic cameras, your weather stations, the streaming software, the computer, all that kind of stuff, and it heads out to up to Spaceport America. So next Thursday, I'll be testing it all in a demo package, and I may be bugging y'all to go jump online and watch it. But the goal is to make it live streamed. We're going to be interviewing all the teams, collecting video from that. So if you can picture your team getting ready to head out to the launch pad for your launch, and we'll start streaming the interview of your we took the view on Monday and Tuesday, and everyone has background of, hey, this is Team 146 from University of wherever, and they've got 22 members of their team here today, and another 50 at home, and their team lead is so and so. The rocket is called. So again, picture a soccer match, where they're introducing the team players before the event. That's really sort of the goal that we're looking for. Also, live status update. We have a software solution that we're going to be working on that everyone wants to know, where's my school at? Where's my team status? Are they launching today? Are they launching tomorrow? Have they already launched? If they did launch, how did they do? And so we are putting together a package that will periodically pop up on the screen during the live stream that you can basically see your team, find out the status of the team. If there are any ETAs involved, it'll be that. If they've completed, it'll show their altitude and, was it a nominal flight? Were there issues with the flight? Whatever the case might be. So all of this is going to be available in the live stream, hopefully. I'm testing now.
Baby steps. Yeah, for sure. Well, let's see. Andy, what you want to ask the next one? I think that's a good one.
Absolutely. The DTEG, the Design Test Evaluation Guide, states that payloads cannot contain any pyrotechnics. For deployable payloads, in the payload deployment system, not the payload itself, use something like black powder for ejecting it from the rocket. Not how about compressed gas, springs, etc. Anybody want to jump in there? You sure? No.
You want to grab it?
Yeah. If you know the answer, run with it.
Yeah. Well, for ejecting the payload, it's not. Oh, so go ahead, Bill.
Okay. Well, the intent of that rule is not to have your payload have or fireworks or something that contains pyrotechnics out in the extremely dry environment of the desert. Any fires out on the range. From that point of view, we want to have or normal methods for ejecting the payload, but so black powder or whatever would be certainly good. I mean, we already allowed you to use black powder to put out your main chute at 1,500 feet. So your payload would go out at similar altitude, and so there's no issue. So, Steve, do you want to add anything to that?
No, that was the intent, just to make sure that we're not, having not to have anything that's either exploding or has the potential for having a hazardous impact on somebody that may be underneath when that thing goes off. But you're right, it's what we use for deployment of main parachutes. So. Yeah, a couple of these rules we'll take a look at in the off season here, and we'll see whether or not we can make the wording a little bit better so that you understand a little bit more of the intent of the rule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, one quick update for everybody is if you are looking at leveraging and utilizing a CO2 or a gas canister ejection, please understand a couple of years ago we had an incident with those little CO2 canisters. If those things sit out in bright sunlight, particularly out of the desert of New Mexico, we had a couple of those just literally shoot off. I mean, they heated up too hot. They were reflective, and they were absorbing a lot of that heat. And man, it's nothing more exciting than a CO2 canister going off by itself. So you got to be real careful with those. And keep in mind, even though they're in a little metal canister, those things need to be controlled as if they are black powder. Okay, and so they need to be stored, they need to be cooled, they need to be out of the sun, and you don't put them in your rocket until the very last second. So the CO2 canisters, everyone's like, oh, you have to worry about those. Those are really safe. Not so much. Okay, so be real careful with them. Okay, here's a couple of extra ones. Have there been any rockets that have landed in the military camp? And I'm just going to head to find that. I'm assuming that you're referring to White Sands Missile
White Sands? Yeah, that's my question. Yeah, that's.
So the White Sands Missile Range is a fair distance away. So we have about 7 miles or so from the vertical launch area where we do the Spaceport America stuff to the edge of the mountain range. And there's a fairly tall mountain range, about 3,000 foot elevation from the ground, that separates Spaceport America from White Sands Missile Range. So you're talking probably over 10 plus miles downrange. If your rocket happens to land 10 miles downrange, then I would say our range safety folks are probably doing something not so good in the review. There should not be a situation where that happens. So far, to my knowledge, I know we've had recovery teams go as far as 14 miles out looking for rockets. I don't think we've had anything that's probably done more than 1.5 miles to 2 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the 14 mile an hour, the 14 miles away was not in the direction of the White Sands Missile Base.
Yeah.
Important to note that you're not allowed on the White Sands Missile Base.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
You are to avoid White Sands Missile Range at all costs. We are not authorized in any shape or fashion to go on there. If you happen to find yourself somehow on White Sands Missile Range, you're going to be in trouble. And there's nothing ESRA is going to be able to do to help you out. So particularly if you're an international student, that would be not good at all. So be very, very careful of that. If you find yourself more than 1 or 2 miles away from the VLA, you need to be checking in with mission control and the recovery team on your backpack. And you'll learn about those things.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, we'll keep moving here. Let's see. All of you are associated with experimental rockets for so many years. When did you launch your first rocket, and what was the class?
Oh, this should be a good question.
This will be a good one for Cliff. Steve, go ahead. You can start.
No, don't. I'm sorry. I was distracted at the moment. So
Okay. Bill, you want to start?
Okay, here we go. I got it. Okay, sorry. So I started. A lot of us guys, and not Cliff. are a little bit on the older side, you know.
Get my thunder.
But I was 10 years old when man first stepped on the moon, and so a byproduct of guys that are my age is you grew up with it, and it was part of your emotional DNA almost. We started out with the Estes rockets, and a lot of us then did Estes rockets. I did Estes rockets with my kids, and then there was a gap between the stuff that we were doing with Estes as kids, and then finally realizing that there's a high power component to this thing. And 7-8 years ago, I found out that we had much more capable rockets and a lot of science behind it. I mean, also a fair amount of us have science or engineering backgrounds. So it just took off, and it consumed me now for the last 8 years. So that's my story. Bill, you want to go?
Yeah, let me jump in because I've got to break out for a podium session here in 3 minutes. So I'll keep my answer brief. I'm one of the kind of like Steve. I was one of these guys. I got up in to watch every single Mercury and Gemini and Apollo launch. So was fired up into that. Actually, did not launch my first rocket until I was a cadet. But then, like Steve, I kind of took a break and then got into high-powered rocketry about the same time that I got associated with the Spaceport America Cup, and kind of went, stepped right through. But my first rockets, first couple of rockets, little Estes A motors, and then three. So over to you, Andy and Cliff.
Very cool.
All right. Let's see. I started with I flew rockets and Cub Scouts, as a kid back in the dark ages, and since that point in time, really didn't do much of anything until my own son was in Cub Scouts, and he got super excited to launch a rocket. And I noticed that when you're looking at your children, once in a while you'll see that gleam in their eye after they've done something. That wow, okay, that might be something. You can tell if they're bored. You're bored with basketball or bored with roller skating or whatever. But you got that crazy big-eyed look when he launched that model rocket. So this could lead to something. So we kept flying bigger and bigger rockets. And as we got older, the rockets got much bigger and much bigger. And we were traveling the country by the time he was 14, going to rocket launches in Kansas and all over the place. And so it worked out fairly well. I mean, he's the senior aerospace engineering major at Arizona State right now. So again, he's flown bigger and higher stuff than I have. So I know that Steve, you've been out to Black Rock before, right?
Yeah, I've been out to Black Rock. Yeah.
So Steve's is from Dallas. I'm from Houston. We share a lot of the same launch sites and hang out with each other quite a bit. Go up to Kansas on our yearly, pilgrimage for the big Kansas launch out there, where we launch huge rockets. And Steve's got a lot of commercial launches as well as a lot of ESRA. We both mix propellant, and sometimes we blow up rockets every once in a while. That's part of the game. But as much as we love to say we're super duper experts, we're learning just as much as anybody is. So that's all key to this, but we do get excited watching the students have super successful flights. Especially the ones that are more technical. That's pretty exciting for us, just as much as it is, I'm sure, for the students. Anyway, Flip.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, drum roll. I have never, aside from Estes, I built Estes rockets when I was a kid. I have never built a high power rocket and flown it. I got involved actually with a team, high school team through work before we became Spaceport America Cup, and we're still the IREC out in the desert of Utah, and then have been obviously tied in with the organization, and I had the same job that Bill had before, which was competition rules for a few years, and now I'm the president of the organization, and yet I still have not built and flown my own rocket. So interesting factoid for me. I know Andy's on a mission. So it's good. It's good. But like I said, we've got such a fantastic team with really, really strong bench depth that they hold me up. So thank you.
Awesome. All right. Let's see. All of your systems. Peter, I thought, dang it, did he come back in? I thought we blocked him.
I thought we banned him.
Anyway,
where's Peter from?
Steerable parachutes be allowed? I don't remember any rules saying that they're not allowed. I think there's several teams that have attempted it in their early design, but then dropped back to a normal parachute afterwards. So my understanding is that they are. You will obviously need to test that and validate, because if we have one that takes off, out to the wrong direction, and I know everyone's concerned about white stands. I know we're concerned about white stands as well, but just as bad, if not potentially even worse, is heading out towards the Virgin Galactic hangar. Ooh, that's right, Cliff. Sorry. We get anywhere near the Virgin Galactic area, and
especially if your main is at apogee and it's not steering, and you're just sailing off into the.
That won't be good. So no concerns at that point. They would love to see one, but we will make sure that it's very much well tested, video proof, all that kind of stuff. All right. Let's see. Next question. Do you have some unusual tips for teams that will be on such a desert for the first time? A lot of countries don't even have a desert. Oh, absolutely. We can highlight example after example.
We could spend the rest hour. Yeah.
Yeah, of even U.S. University. The teams that show up from the upper Canadian peninsula. The Minnesota teams and some of those others that they left and it was 72 degrees outside in the middle of the summer and show up in New Mexico and it's 100 degrees and dry as a bone. Definitely, it's all about the clothing and preparing yourself for the desert. There will be some training that will be sent out prior to. In fact, I think there was another session that talked specifically about this. Chris Lopez from Spaceport America talked about preparing yourself for the desert. Shade. International teams, you probably don't want to put a canopy or chairs, that kind of stuff, into the airplane and fly all that kind of stuff over. Most teams will purchase those when they get here, but you need to set up an area. There's no shaded covering out there for you. So a lot of the teams will sort of bond together and put all their canopies together and make a large, sort of a large shaded area. But you probably want to purchase some of those things. You can get them fairly inexpensively at Walmart and that kind of stuff around. But bring shade. You're definitely going to need the shade. It does get windy, so you're going to need to anchor those units down very well. Clothing is super critical. Even if you're under the canopy, you need a hat. And we have pictures of me typically with my Uber hat, big thing that protects your ears, protects the back of your neck, that kind of stuff. I even wear long sleeve shirt. Typically, the shirts that are considered fishing shirts. They're light, but they protect you very well from UV. And long sleeves, so you're not constantly having to put sunscreen on that type of scenario. Long pants. I can't tell you the number of students in the first couple of years we really didn't do anything about it, but we've had students show up in the little skinny tight shorts and tank top t-shirts and no hat, and they show up and their son's never really seen the sun, and by the end of even the first afternoon, they're already starting to turn pink. By the time you turn pink, you're going to be suffering the rest of the week. And so we have gotten very proactive on that. If you show up to the event and you're not wearing appropriate clothing, the other thing is open toe shoes. Again, I'm not going to show you this.
No sandals. Don't
said
wear sandals or
absolutely.
flip flops.
Well, there was a comment about the thorns there. So,
Yep.
I mean, yeah, it's just, it'll rip you apart. And
Oh, it's terrible.
well, it's funny, Andy, you mentioned, teams from Michigan, but heck, even us guys in Texas, when we go out there, it's a different environment. It's not just the heat. It's also how dry it is. It's also the wildlife. I was, sitting down at dinner, and we were out at the spaceport, and tarantula walked right between my legs. I'd never actually seen
A little one.
a lot. Yeah, a big spider, and we had a rattlesnake out there, and so there's also wildlife that would get you. And I know the Australians are probably laughing at us, but yeah,
Here in America, only some of the animals are out to kill you.
Yeah, it's a different environment, and you have to prepare for it.
No kangaroos.
I will. I'll tell a story too, just to be somewhat serious, because this is an important topic, and then we can move on. But there was a team from Seattle, so I'm in Seattle, Washington, in the United States, and it's never hot. The hottest we ever get is 90 degrees, maybe 25 C, something like that. And this team. This was first time at Spaceport America, and first time in the desert for them. Their rocket landed, and it wasn't that far, maybe a mile away from base camp, and they just walked out to the desert and to go pick up their rocket, and they almost didn't make it back. It was bad. One person made it back, and the others were sitting under a bush in the shade. And the Spaceport America crew has a great rescue capability, so they went out and picked them up, and it was okay. But you really have to be very safe, and we in fact require you to check in with the recovery tent before you do anything like going out to recover. I know from personal experience too, those little bottles of water, I go through about 9 to 10 bottles a day of that. So, and if you're not drinking by 9 a.m., you won't catch up. By 11, it's too hot, and it's already dry, and I can't even keep up. So those are all tips. You just need to plan way ahead, and you can't overestimate how much water you'll need.
Okay. Awesome. Let's see. Next question. Let's see. Hi, I am the captain of the Worcester Playtech Institute Life Power Club. Our team have prior experience at USLI and flipping IREC. Oh, okay, stepping up. Okay, we understand that. That's fully understandable. SLI is cute, but big boys come to the IREC. Come on, smile, laugh, lift.
I got it.
Lift's not even putting up with it. Okay, fine. Sorry. What are some suggestions that would ensure a strong application? Well, you've already said something that's very important to us. Number one, on strong applications, and I'll jump in and then you guys can add in your take on it. Because Cliff has been in a lot of application reviews, and we don't accept all of them. We don't accept, this coming year, most of the teams are returning, so the number of open available slots is going to be very small. But for the remaining teams that are still coming, two things are going to happen. If you change your category, if you potentially upgrade your category from, say, 10K cots to a 30K cot, we're going to take a look very hard into what we can find on the history and experience of the team. So inside your application, you would need to explain to us why you think you're qualified to go to 30K from a 10K launch. If you're telling us that you've done SLI, well, that's great. SLI is typically K and L class motors, and you don't rarely go over 6,000 feet. So a jump to probably an N or an O class motor, so that you can get that 8-point or that payload, that heavy payload, all the way up to 30,000 feet. Typically, it's N or an O class motor. So when you upgrade, you need to be able to validate to us that you're capable of flying these type of rockets. And two ways of doing that: show us the flights you've done that are similar. That helps us a lot. Put that in your application. Number two, have a mentor, a Tripoli or a NAR high power rocketry certified mentor that has that experience, that can guide you in those arenas. That will help your application quite a bit. If you don't have either one of those, and you try to overshoot your team's ability, just because that's what the team wants. That is putting you on the bubble to get basically dropped. So that will make for a very weak application. The COTS 10K, we'll evaluate those, pretty lightly. You get up above the COTS 10K arena, we're going to be looking at those with a very, very close microscope. Guys?
Yeah, I think I would just add to that if you're a new team and you've never flown before, you better start simple. Tell us you've got a mentor. You're doing 10K COTS. It's a very kind of low key in terms of complexity, and that gives us more confidence that A, you'll be safe because safety is first, and B, that you have a good chance of having a successful flight, and that it's a good entry into the competition. If you are a more advanced team and you have experience, then tell us about your experience. Tell us why you've got the experience and why you think you're justified in taking on the extra challenges that you're undertaking.
Sure. Flip or Steve?
I guess the only thing I would remind the mentor is really one of the keys. The other thing is in hooking up with your local clubs. We love helping college kids. I mean, it's just one of the you're going to find someone who's going to be motivated to help you because quite honestly, you guys think different. You think different. Your approach to a problem is way different than ours, and I enjoy that perspective. And so, you hopefully will be able to find in your area a mentor that's going to work with your team and make sure that you have a leg up on others that don't have that mentor. The last thing that I will mention is there was a comment from the SED. I mean, a presentation on the SEDS program. SEDS is going to be one of those areas where you can build your capability up to demonstrate that you're ready to go in the Spaceport Cup. So go to launches, get a mentor, and participate in other competitions is good.
Absolutely. Well, let's see. Moving on.
Yeah.
Petros has a question on with which competitions is ESRA associated? Ooh. Well, I'm aware of, I guess, one and a growing number of I guess, international events that ESRA is, I guess, in discussions with. We have not come to any formal arrangements or agreements, but it is really exciting from my standpoint to look at all of the competitions that have spawned. And I don't want to spawned out of it, but have been created after IREC has become so popular. We can look at the Launch Canada event. It's brand new. Their very first competition they've ever had countrywide for universities out there. The Latin American Space Challenge has been around for quite a few years. It continues to grow. The teams in Brazil are attracting more and more teams all over the place and doing phenomenal work there. We look at the brand new European Championship. Pretty excited about that. Portugal hosts that. This is their second year. They launched in October, and every year the number of participants in that competition continues to increase. And so the last one, don't let me forget this one, is our beloved Aussies. So they have the Australian University Challenge that coincides with one of their major launches in Australia. And if you talk about something similar to Spaceport America, weather and environment, that would definitely be Thunder Down Under over there. So with that said, what we were trying to do, and we're starting discussions on that, is that basically validating. We're having to turn away so many teams that it's becoming a challenge for us. And so what we're looking at is qualifiers. If you look at an opportunity for a university to compete, say for instance at the European Championships or at the Canadian launch event, let's say the top 3 teams would get automatic bids into Spaceport America stuff. Obviously depending on a couple of rules and that kind of stuff. But there's even an event in Algeria that I think is sort of our pilot program. So they have a national event every year, and we'll have our first set of Algerian teams attending next year. So it is pretty exciting to move towards that. There are other events outside of Spaceport America Cup in the United States. Most of those are only focused on U.S. teams. But you have SLI, which is the NAR / NASA sponsored university competition. There are events such as the Argonia Cup, which is a university competition in Kansas for April. Slightly smaller venue, smaller number of teams. A lot of teams will actually go to the Argonia Cup as a practice launch for the season, which is sort of interesting. And then out at FAR, Friends of Amateur Rocketry in Mojave, they have a plethora of competitions and a wonderful launch site out there as well. Most of those are not a specific date. Most of those are take your rocket out there when it's ready, launch it, and if the results pan out really well and you qualify for the awards, you actually win the awards. So definitely some good options for everyone. Running out of time a little bit. There's some guy named Dustin, I think.
I saw that.
Dustin Taylor.
Who's Dustin Taylor? I don't know. He's like the former vice president of ESRA. Shout out to Dustin.
Yep. Miss you, buddy. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Dustin, post more pictures of your puppy dog. I need proof of life. So, apparently his puppy dog was bad. Oh, wow. Anyways, what would a good at winning? Anything they can focus on that will not cost much. Different forms of analysis, manpower, heavy tasks, more fun. Ooh.
It's a good question. What do you think, Steve?
Well, you saw me sit back in my chair thinking about it. I
got one thing. I can tell you up front that the teams that do really, really well don't typically have more money than any others. And I'll say that pretty clearly. I will say that the teams that do well at Spaceport America Cup are the ones that have been at the Cup before, have experienced the event, and are familiar with how it proceeds and what's important. The documentation is very important, but also having a successful and accurate flight. And so if the teams come to the Spaceport America Cup and have never launched or never test launched their rocket, they are tying one hand and one leg behind their back. They don't know, they haven't validated the coefficient of drag. They have no idea if their simulations are accurate or not. Just to highlight a perfect example, Sydney last year, University of Sydney shows up when they launched their rocket out they missed their target altitude for like 10 feet. How can you go to 10,000 feet and miss the target altitude by 10 feet? The sad part was they weren't the closest to the target. There was actually a team that was close. Nonetheless, that is a big amount of points in the scoring threshold. Your documentation, every little segment of the rubric has got to be 100%. You turned all your stuff on time. You were very helpful. Your stuff was highly accurate, highly detailed. The rocket performance was wonderful. You got the bonus points for launching it early. So it's not so much how much money that you have, it's focusing in on the rules, having the experience, asking the questions, and being well prepared. That will get you your best shot at winning or doing well in the event, as opposed to paying for fancier.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you want to add to that, Steve?
I guess, and there's a creative way to doing things on the cheap. You do your own glassing of your own tubes. Instead of using fiberglass fins, you use plywood fins and you glass over it. There's a number of ways to do it with less expensive. I even had one kind of cool story from a team that came and were unprepared, but in trying to locate some Kevlar wrapping for their parachutes, they ended up actually going to the police department and the fire department and seeing if they had any of their Kevlar that was out of service And there was, and they brought that stuff with them to the Spaceport Cup, and they got used it for their flame protection. So, you know, there are creative ways to do it. I don't suggest you hit the local police department, but I thought that was a fairly creative solution to the problem.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think, yeah, you know, my perspective is for new teams, right, or teams with a smaller budget, and I think new teams as well. It's how well do they know their rocket? How familiar? Do you understand what you've got? More than just, yeah, we ran some simulations and it says if I put in this much mass and this much propellant, it's going to go this high. Like, do you really understand what you're doing? Do you understand the materials you've chosen, why you chose those materials? What's your fin design? Why did you choose that design? Why did you choose the nose cone design? You can see the more complex your rocket gets, the harder it is to answer all those questions. So keep it simple. It doesn't have to be complicated, but understand at a deep level why you made the choices that you made and why you designed it the way you designed it, and that you'll understand the performance. That gives us a ton more confidence when it comes to safety reviews, and it reflects in the quality of your technical presentations and also your project technical report.
Good question, Dustin. Hey, Andy, you might be muted, buddy.
Questions? All right. Saying the same thing. Thank you, Dustin.
Just a few minutes left.
Yep. Let's see. Oh, Cliff, really?
You got to answer Cliff's question here. Come on, it's been there the whole time, Andy.
Are
The answer is
going to go metric?
Oh, I said it wrong. Is it going to go SI?
Oh, that's right.
SI. I think we should do it. What do you think? This English system is killing me.
We got half the board here, you know.
Anyway, I just put that in there jokingly, but I think that's something we should definitely push for because, you know, let's do it. Why not?
I guess the key piece is, what's the industry doing?
Well, that's a different question.
Yeah,
but you know,
that's what we're training all these guys for.
As Mike Mullane said, you know, don't engineers fall into the trap of, well, that's the way it's always done.
Oh,
watch out.
Early adopters.
Well,
right.
Maybe, do we have any closing thoughts? I just have some announcements I'll make here at the end, but otherwise.
I think we're good. Go ahead.
Okay. No, I just want to say thank you. I think this was great, and I hope that everybody appreciated the chance to have some Q&A with us and get some answers. I posted a link or a photo, a screenshot of the agenda for tomorrow. So new teams go to the Spaceport, visiting New Mexico, preparing to attend Spaceport America. They put together a little safety video, just a orientation of, hey, it's the desert. What does it look like? And so do check that out. I will also mention we had a great time yesterday. I wasn't sure how it would go. That was the mixing event, the social hour that comes up after today's events. It'll be the last and only one remaining for the event here. And it's a chance to kind of do round robin and meet different team members, meet with ESRA staff, with the Spaceport, and we've got sponsors in there too. So be sure to check that on the agenda and just click the join button, and you should be able to join in. And it's quite fun.
We have one new question that popped up. We got to see here. Is what is the highest altitude a rocket has achieved in events you have participated in?
Oh,
I can tell you, Steve Taylor and I, and even Cliff, you associate with a gentleman that has got a couple of high altitude flights under his belt. So ESRA is so lucky to have Jim Jarvis. Jim Jarvis is one of the highest altitude guys that I know out there. He does extremely technical, beautiful carbon fiber rockets that have flown well in excess. I mean, he's done 175,000. Has he gone above that?
No, I think the last flight was 175.
So, 175,000 feet. And these are some fairly large rockets, all minimum diameter. So, but don't think about, the 3 foot diameter rockets. These are not like that at all. these are usually 4-inch, maybe 5-inch most, and they're multi-stage, and so they'll typically be an O booster to maybe an N a sustainer with long duration burn time, and it's really amazing to watch them. If you look for Jim Jarvis on YouTube, I think the thing is called like 4-carb yin or something like that. I don't remember exactly. I'll put it in the comments. I think it's 4-carb yin. If you
Actually, I've got to go start another presentation, guys. So I'm going to say goodbye, and thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks, Steve.
Excellent.
All right.
Thanks for the questions, everybody.
Great job.
All right. Take care.